Hello and thank you for coming to my channel. This is Rick's Garage and today we continue with our build of the Willys Jeep from iXO Collections. Now in our previous pack we completed the Jeep, and if you haven't seen that video I'll put a link in the descriptions for you. But you may recall that the person I'm building this for has decided to permanently display it with the canvas top down so that the machine gun can be attached. And I actually think this is the best way to display this model. It looks more military. It conjures up those images of the Jeep as we think about World War II. Now at the end of the pack we started to work on the trailer, and these are the two sides here that we started to work on, and we attached the hooks onto the to the trailer, and these sides are metal but the hooks are plastic. And in this pack we're going to continue working on the trailer. Now if you want to get this for yourself, I have put a link in the descriptions and a QR code on screen that will take you right over to iXO Collections. But without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, stage 86. Again, we're going to be working on the trailer. I think this is the back end. So let's get this open. If you hear any noise in the background, like hammering or anything, that's our neighbors. They're still having the roof replaced. And it's kind of interesting today because it's raining. It's a little bit of a heavy sprinkle outside. And note to self, if you need to replace a roof, do it in the summertime. Okay, let's get these parts out and get this going. Okay, I brought out my part work upgrades mat, and I don't want to scratch the paint on this. And they're calling this the front panel to the trailer. And the only thing we're going to be doing is we're just going to install this hook. And the hook is plastic, and it has a locating lug, which is going to go into that hole there. And then it has a screw hole, which is going to go right there. That's going to fit in just like that. We're going to turn it over, and we're going to secure that in with a CP screw, which I already have on my screwdriver. So it's going to go in just right there. Screw that in, nice and tight. It is going into plastic, so as soon as I feel resistance, I stop. And there's our hook installed. And that's all there is to do in that stage. Okay, in stage 87, we do the same thing that we did in our previous pack, or previous stage, and that is we're going to affix a hook right there. Okay, so we got our hook positioned, got our CP screw, and screw that right in. And there's our hook. And that's all there is to do in that stage. Okay, in stage 88, we have the floor of the trailer and a couple of detail parts. And I think also in this stage, we're going to be able to attach all the sides that we've put together so far. So let's get this out. Okay, before we start construction of the trailer, I want to point out these tiny bits right here. These are the lights that are going to go on the side of the trailer. And they are in the bag, floating around inside the bag. So when you're taking your parts out, pay close attention to these bits right here, because it is easy for them to fall out without you knowing about it, or to get lost in the shuffle as you're taking parts out, because they are not enclosed in their own individual bag. So pay close attention. You should have 4 of these reflectors and then 4 of these lenses. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to put those aside for a moment. And the first thing that we're going to want to do, this is plastic, this is the bottom of the trailer, and we are going to need all 4 of the sides that we've been working on. So this is the bottom, and this is the top. This is what you would be looking at when you're looking down into the trailer. So we're going to flip this over. I'm going to put it around in this orientation. And these do have specific sides to them. On these pieces here, they do have an L marked where it says left. I'm going to put this on my left side. And this one here has an R marked on it for the right. But these end caps don't have any markings on them whatsoever. So they can go either in the front or in the back. It doesn't matter. What we're going to do, it's going to be a little bit of a balancing act. the first thing you want to do is you want to take your end cap, and you'll notice that there's an indentation here, a little kind of a half square indentation here and here, and that's going to help you align your sides. So you're going to place your end cap on just like that, and they kind of sort of fit kind of snug. And you'll notice too that there is a indentation here as well, and that goes on right like that, and that will fit flush to your base. Then you want to take your side, and this one here is the right, and you're going to put that right over on top. You'll notice that on the side over here it fits nice and flush. And we're going to do the same thing on the back to the end cap. And this is going to be a little bit of a balancing act, and I'm not going to be able to do this on camera, but I am going to lightly screw in a QP screw right here to kind of hold this in place. And I'll be right back. Okay, so I got one in. It's not tight, it's in there kind of loose, just enough to help me hold this side in place. I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to take my other end cap here, and I'm going to try to balance that on where it needs to go. And that needs to go underneath this lip here, just like that. And then I'm going to secure that in with a QP screw, but I'm not going to tighten it in very tight, just enough to hold that in place. Okay, now I'm going to take my left side and do the same thing, a little bit of a balancing act. Put it in the right way around. Put that on top like so. Do the same thing over here, and then reposition it to where it needs to go. See how it's going to be a little bit of a balancing act on this? So let me try to get this. The camera's in my way, so I'm having a little bit of a problem. So let me come back and I'll show you what this looks like once it's installed. Okay, that was interesting. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a builder's tip here. There is a definite left and right to this trailer when you're putting in your sides. There is no left and right printed on the base, on the floor. There's only the L and the R printed on these sides. And I was starting on the right side, and I got the 2 screw holes to go in just fine. And then on the left, I got this screw to go in fine, but I could not get this one to go in. No matter what I did, I could not get that screw to catch on to the hole that it was going to go into. I struggled with it, took it apart, tried it again, and nothing that I did worked until I decided to put the left on the right side of the trailer. So I switched the sides, and everything went in just fine. So if you're having a problem with your last screw that you're going in on whatever side that you're working on, if that screw cannot catch into the hole that it needs to go into, then take your assembly apart and take your side that you're working on and put it on the other side of the trailer. So when I first started off, I was taking this left one here and was putting it over on this side because I didn't think it really mattered because there was no left and right printed on the base of the trailer. And everything was going in fine until I was trying to get into this last screw and it wouldn't go in. I had to switch this the L over here. I was first starting off on this side and it wouldn't catch, so I took this side off and I switched it to this side over here. And then I reassembled everything and everything went in just fine. So there is definite a left and right to this trailer. You just got to kind of figure it out as you're putting your sides on. So again, if you're having a problem trying to get your sides to catch into the screw hole here or in one of the corners that you're working on, then take your assembly apart and switch your sides around and it should work fine. So you're going to attach, or you're going to secure in your sides and your ends on these corners here with 4 QP screws. And then on the edge of the trailer, right up in here, the screw right here, you're going to do on both sides, on the front and the back, you're going to take this screw here, and this is a YM screw, and you're going to then secure the corners in using a YM screw, and then you got your whole entire trailer done. Okay, next what you want to do is you want to come here to the back of your trailer, and you know it's the back of the trailer because you've got these 3 holes here, and then you got them again here on the side. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your reflectors that you have here, and you'll notice that there's 2 lugs on the back, and there's a hole in the center. And you're going to line those 2 lugs to these 2 top and bottom holes here. So that's going to go on just like this, or like a locating lugs. And then you're going to take a AAM screw, and you're going to secure those in. One here, one there, again over here, and on the side right here. Okay, now those AAM screws are really small, so I'm using a PH000 screwdriver. And to show you the comparison, this is my PH1, and you can see how small those are. And we're going to secure those lights in using this AAM screw. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and screw this in using the AAM screw, and these are really small screws, as I said before, and they don't need oil. It's going in pretty easily. So I don't think any oil is needed for these screws, even though they're going into metal. And there's that one in. We'll do the same thing for the other 3. Now these AAM screws, they're a flathead screw. So you want to try to put them in so that the head of the screw is about as flush to the backing as you can get it. At the same time, you don't want to over tighten it, because you are going through plastic into metal, but you don't want to crack that plastic at the same time. So you want to try to get that as flush to the back as you can without over tightening it, because you don't want that screw head to get in the way of the lens when you put that in. And here's the last one going in. Okay, and those are our lights in, or at least our light housings are in. Okay, next what you want to do is you want to take your lens covers, and if you recall the last time we had to do this on the Jeep, there is a lug on the lens that you can see there, right there, and there is a hole right here where that lug is supposed to go. I don't know if the camera can catch that or not, but that is the hole that the lens is supposed to go. And if you recall, this is a little fiddly to get in. And also too, I did need to use glue, but if you do want to use glue, you want to use Krystal Klear. That goes on white, but it does dry clear and it will not fog up your lights. I'm not going to use glue, at least I didn't need to when I was putting these on to the Jeep, but we'll see how these go on the trailer. And when you're putting these lenses in, and you know that you got it in the right spot, you might hear a little click when they go in, indicating that they're in nice and firm. I don't know if you heard the click on that one, but that one did click. So there's our lights on our trailer. And that's all there is to do in that stage. Okay, before we continue, I want to talk about the organizer that I've been using to keep all my screws. I mentioned this at the very beginning of this build series, and what I've been doing is that every time I get a bag of screws, I take the label off and I put it onto the little cubicle area here that the screw is going to go into. So I've got DM screws, AP screws, EM screws, and so on, and I just use those labels and peeled them off the bag and stuck them into these little boxes here. This is a 36 box container. So there's all these little cubicles here. There's only 36 of them, but this build has more than 36 different types of screws. I believe there is a 48 cubicle organizer that is available, and I will put a link in the descriptions below if I can find one for you. This one here, I'll put also the link in the descriptions below. I'm not going to get a 48 for this build. I'm going to keep my 36. And what I've been doing is that these just extra bags of screws that I have that I don't have any place to put them, I just put them into the last container here, and over here I just have spare parts that I've got. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. If you want to have a screw organizer, you may want to get one that's a 48 or maybe even a 60. Depending upon how many different types of screws that are going to end up in this build. And I won't know that until I'm done. And I will definitely let you know at the very end of this build how many different types of screws there are so that you can get the organizer of your choice, of your preference, if you would like to build this for yourself. Okay, let's get on with the build. Okay, in stage 89, we have the chassis to the trailer, and this is going to add a little bit more weight to our build. Now, not only do we have the chassis, but we also have electrics, and I love electrics. So I'm going to look forward to installing that, but this is all metal, and this is going to add some more weight to our trailer. These two pieces here will weigh about 2 pounds together. The Jeep weighs just a little over 10 pounds. So this is going to be a very heavy model once it's all done, when you add the weight of the trailer and the Jeep. And don't forget, we've got the anti-tank gun also to build. Okay, remember, the first thing that we want to do is we want to take the chassis in this position here and place our LED end over here through this notch, and take one of the wires here on the left and run it through this trench, and then underneath it there's a hole right there that's going to go underneath. It's going to end up right like that. We're going to do that on both sides. Put that there, and then run that all the way through. Then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Run that all the way through. Just like that. We're going to probably leave just a little bit of the wire just like that. And then we're going to turn our chassis over and continue to run our wires all the way through until they end up over here. And there is a notch right here where this light's going to go. So this is going to go like that. It's going to run along this channel here, and the same thing for this side. Run this way through that channel there, and then end up right over here. Now what I'm going to probably end up doing is I'm going to turn this around this way, and to help to keep these wires in place, I'm going to put just a little bit of insulating tape right over here just to keep those in place. Now before I do that, I'm going to take our trailer top here, I'm going to turn it over this way around, and this is going to be the back end of the trailer. We're going to turn our chassis over so that we can see how this is going to go on first. So these are going to go over here like this. I'm going to turn this over like that. And we're going to match our lugs right on top just like that. Our lug holes are going to go over, these lug holes are going to go through this, and then there is an indent here, right there and there, and the same as over here that's going to go over these screw holes. So this is going to go on something like this. Put this over just like that for a moment. So what I'm going to do then, since the wires are going to be hidden under this bar here and this bar here from the trailer, I'm going to turn this over, move this over here, and to help me out with these wires, I'm going to put just a little bit of insulating tape over here just to keep these wires in place while I position, so I can position the chassis onto the trailer. So let me get that done, and we'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, this is how I've got my wires running. I've got it running underneath here, and I've got this plug just about at the edge on this side of the chassis, and the wires going through that slot that you see right there. Okay, then they run on this channel here on both sides, and they go underneath this channel. So we're going to flip the chassis over, and we run the line through these two channels here, and then I've got some insulating tape here. Whoops, this came undone, so let's get that back down. Okay, so that's back in. Alright, so Going back to what I've done here, the two wires are going through this channel here. Then I've got some insulating tape to kind of hold them in place there. Then it runs along this channel this way, and the LEDs then end up over here with about this much of a lead on both ends. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring our trailer over, our tub over, like this. And the end here with the lights, this is going to turn over like this. And we're going to line up our screw holes here to these screw holes here, and then these indents that you see right here and over here on both sides are going to line up to these screw holes on the corners. So this is going to go on like that, nice and flush, making sure that we're not pinching any wires, and this lead comes out this hole here and over here on the other side. So now this was a little bit pinched here. I want to get that lined up on both sides, and then once we're satisfied with the way this looks, we're going to secure that in with 4 FM screws. Okay, now we have our chassis onto our tub here, and it's all nice and flush, just like that. And there on the other side. Now this snapped in a little bit further, so I'm going to take my screws here and see if I can't tighten those up a little bit more, because that was not totally flush in there. You heard that snap. So I'm going to retighten these screws here. So now that they're all completely nice and tight. And we have now a nice and tight flush bottom there, all the way around. And our LEDs are not trapped, and if I do need a little bit more line over here or on either side, I can always still pull these through, because they're only held in place by the insulating tape. So if I need a little bit more leadway over here, a little bit more room, I can pull that through if I wanted to. Now over here I'm going to add a little bit insulating tape in order to keep these lines here a little bit more deep into the channel. Okay, now for over here, for these lines here and for this line here, before I get these firm into this channel right here, I am going to paint this an olive drab just to blend it in a little bit better. Okay, I got the wires painted in the olive drab, and you can see how that blends in pretty well. And I also have some insulating tape run in through here and one right there, just to hold those wires more securely deep into that channel. I'm not going to paint the end right here because that's a plug, so that's going to get hidden anyway when I plug it into the back of the Jeep. So that's our base, or rather our chassis, onto the tub of the trailer. So I'm going to put this over here for a moment. Okay, next we want to work on our lights. I'm going to bring our pieces over, and everything here is directional. On this red part here, you'll see that there is an L, so we're going to put that on the left. We take this part here, and way deep inside, I don't know if the camera can see it or not, but right down in there, in the crevice down in there, there is an R. So that's indicating that this piece should be for the right. So I'm going to put that piece over here. So that means that that piece is a left. This bracket is also labeled. There's an R on this one, so I'll put that on the right. This one's the left. These do not have, this does have a directional. This is L, so this is on the left, and then that means that's the right. And then of course we have this clear part here, and that clear part also has an R on it, meaning that it is for the right, so we put that over here as well. So now we got our left pieces and our right pieces separated. So I'm going to start with our left. I'm going to take this part here, and we're going to then put that through just like that, so it looks just like that on the other side. And then we're going to do the same thing on the right, just like that. Then we're going to take this piece here, we're going to take our bracket, and our brackets are, and our piece here are both labeled correctly. This is L, and there is an L right there at the very end. So again, we're just double checking, make sure we got everything correct. And this locating lug here is going to go into the hole of this piece here. It's going to line everything up. So that hole, if that hole is not lined up, you see how that center hole is not lined up properly? It means you got this bracket on wrong. So I'm going to turn this around, line it up just like that. So that's the orientation that should be. And then the reason why is that these holes right here, or not holes, but these lugs are going to line up to the holes on this piece here, which is going to center this onto this properly, so that when you put it onto your trailer, this is going to be oriented correctly. So it's very important that you make sure that all your pieces, right now we're working on the left, that every piece that you're working on has the same letter on it. So again, we're going to take this and line our lug up, make sure that that hole is lined up just like that, which it is, and we're going to secure this piece on to here into that hole right there using a CP screw. Okay, so when you got your brackets on, that's how that should look. And our center hole is centered between the bracket and this part here. And every piece has the same letter on it. So this is an L bracket, this is an L housing, and this is an L cap with an L lens. It's the same thing for over here as well. Okay? No different. Okay, now we're going to take this part here and we're going to line these lug holes up to these right here. And this is, again, it's directional. So this can only go on one way. So as you're putting this on, if it doesn't line up correctly, like that's not lining up, then I know I've got it on backward. I got to turn, take this lens back in. Try that again. And if it's not going in correctly, then I know I've got it in backward, and all I have to do then is just switch it around. Okay, now when you got your caps on right, that's how that should look. Just like that. And on this here. So they've made these pieces to where they want you to construct it in a specific way. So don't try to force it. If you're putting this cap on to this housing and it's not going flush against the housing, you know you've got it on backward, so switch it around. So they've designed this to where it's almost impossible to put these pieces together incorrectly. And this is how they should look once they're constructed. Okay, now we're going to put this on the trailer. So we're going to bring our trailer over like this, and this is the left side, this is the right side. So we find our parts, and you can see that here's an L on that bracket, so you can still make sure that you're putting the right part on the right way. So this is the left light, this is the left side, and we're going to put our light right here. This lug is going to go into this hole here, and we're going to push that in just like that, and we're going to secure that in the DM screw because it's going to go into metal. So let me get this one secured in on this side. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, once we have our housing attached to the trailer, we're going to take our LED and we're going to then insert it into the hole right there. I'm going to get this in, and just like that. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. And there are our lights installed. And that's all there is to do in that stage. Okay, now before we move on to stage 90, I wanted to point out the wires on this trailer here on the back. This is the correct length that you need from this end of the trailer to this part right here of the electric, to this connection. So that is just right because you have just enough room to get your light installed. And you'll also notice that I also painted those leads right here in olive drab. Blends it in pretty good. Okay, let's get on with stage 90. Okay, so in stage 90 we have detail parts that we need to attach to the trailer. Okay, now all these parts are plastic, and the first thing that we want to do is we want to take the handbrake lever, which is what this is, and put it in this way around. Then we're going to take the handbrake mount which is this part here. And there is a slot right there where this end is going to go into. So we're going to put it in this way around, and we're going to secure it in just like that using an AP screw. And that's how that looks when that's installed, and this does move back and forth. Okay, next what we want to do is we want to take our handbrake lever and we put it into this way around like that. Then we want to take this part here, which they're calling the handbrake lever rod. And again, this is plastic, and you'll notice that there is kind of a lug here at the end. There's a kind of an indent there. It's kind of rough looking, and this end is smooth. It's this end here that you want to put into this hole right here. So we're going to put it in through here like that, push it all the way through, and then we're going to hold it in by these C-clamps. And I'm going to use the same technique I used before on the trailer when we were using, or not the trailer, but the Jeep, when we were installing these C-clamps. And I was reminded that that technique actually came from a scale model review kit. Steve over there was the one that actually first showed this, at least the first video I've seen it on. And so he's the one that did that. So I'm going to put a link again in the descriptions below so you can go down and check his channel out. He's got a lot of tips, a lot of great tips that he offers on his channel that might come in handy for you. So I'm going to go ahead and get this installed, and we'll come back and see what that looks like. Okay, that's how that looks like when that's installed, and trust me, that was not easy to do. Very difficult to get that C-clamp on. I recommend you take the screw out and then install the lever here, putting that C-clamp on, because that screw is going to get in your way. But that's the C-clamp installed, and that's your brake lever mechanism. And it does move back and forth. Okay, now I'm going to bring over my part work upgrades mat. Bring over the trailer. I'm going to turn it over this way around. And I'm interested in this hole right here. We're going to take this part right here, and you'll notice there is a long end and a short end. So when the trailer is in this position, I'm going to put this part in like this, with the two holes facing in this direction, right like that. And we're going to secure that in with an EM screw. And that's how that looks once that's installed. Okay, now we're going to take our trailer. We're going to turn it around upside right. We're going to take our brake mechanism that we have, and we're going to turn this lever that we just installed over to the right. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And then there's a locating lug underneath here that's going to go into this locating hole right there. And then we're going to line up this screw hole with that screw hole. So this is going to go in just like that. And then this piece right here is going to go into this hole. So I'm going to get this up. Best probably put this in first. Okay, this is a very tight fit. And what I recommend that you do is that you remove this part from underneath and then attach this bar into the hole first. Then reattach your part underneath and then attach your brake mechanism over here. So this is going to go on like this. It's going to go into that hole right we have back here. It's going to go in just like that, and you're going to be able then to hold this in, hold that in, turn it over, and secure it underneath using a PP screw. Okay, now once you have that installed, it should work just like that. So this moves back and forth, and at the same time, this piece down here is moving. We turn our trailer tub over like this, and it turned out that I didn't really need to paint these wires in here, and probably didn't also need to use that insulating tape to keep those wires in place, because we have this part here which we're just going to place in. This is just a push to fit. This is going to go in just like this. Push that all the way down, nice and firm, just like that. so it hides those wires. So we didn't need to, or I didn't need to paint those wires, or probably use the insulation tape because that's going to keep that in place. Okay, now that we have our electric installed here, I have to find out. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I'm going to go get the Jeep, bring the Jeep over, and I'm going to connect this up to see how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this a little bit closer, connect these wires up like that, turn the Jeep on, and hopefully we'll see some lights here. Bring this around. Okay, let's see what we have. Turn the lights on. Haha! That is so cool. Okay, so we got the lights working on both sides there. And you can also see them, they're on the Jeep. So let's see what happens when we push the brake pedal. Do the brake lights on the Jeep, or excuse me, on the trailer also flash with the Jeep? And there they go. There's our brakes. That is so cool. Okay, I put a link in the descriptions and a QR code on screen that will take you right over to iXO Collections if you'd like to get this for yourself. I really hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please remember to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. Other than that, always have fun in your garage, your workshop, or wherever it is you build your models. Until next time, thanks for watching.